Hello and a very good day to one and all. Thank you so much for having us today. We are delighted to be here to give you an overview about demystifying unencrypted data. We highly appreciate everyone for taking out your valuable time from a busy schedule and joining us from the various parts of Asia Pacific. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Mukesh and I work as a business manager with SISA and I would be the moderator for the day. Talking about SISA, SISA is a payment security specialist and a cybersecurity expert since 2006, having its footprints in 40 plus countries. We term ourselves as a synergistic company as we provide our own security products, services, and trainings to our target audience. Now, please allow me to welcome our speakers for the day. We've got Kaushik Pandey, who is a principal consultant at SISA. Kaushik has handled several information system audits and has successfully implemented assessment programs at leading banks, third-party processors, IT, BPOs, airlines, and payment gateways. He's also an authorized lead trainer for CISA's CPISI, a payment security training program, for imparting knowledge on the payment security implementation and what a QSA can look out for a successful audit and certification from a compliance perspective. Alongside with Kaushik, we have Shiva Kumar, who is a senior global technical support engineer for products. He carries a vast experience in product delivery and deployment. Keynotes for today's webinar are: today's webinar would last for 45 minutes, which would include question and answer session. All attendees will be muted automatically to enable the speakers to proceed without interruption. Please submit your questions that arise during the webinar through our Q&A section, which is located right below your screen, so that you can refer for future references. Now, I would like to invite Kaushik to take over the session.
Thank you so much, Mukesh, for the lovely introduction. Hello, team. Good afternoon or good evening, based upon the global regions, or let's say global geographic locations, wherever you are hosted right now. And thank you so much for attending this particular session. Let's quickly start with this session now. Let's go through a bit of agenda. So first of all, we'll be discussing about data. That is, what exactly is data, or let's say what exactly is defined as the PII or the sensitive data elements. Okay. After that, we will be, you can say, going through the sensitive data, the pros and cons. What exactly PCI DSS tells us, because as Mukesh has rightly said, that we are a payment security specialist company. And more or less, much of the services that we give revolve around the PCI, or the PCI Security Standards Council. So we'll be taking into reference the PCI DSS standard, and we'll be helping, or let's say we'll be assisting you guys in the protection of the information using the PCI DSS as a standard. Then we'll be going to the what exactly is data discovery, what is exactly the identification of the data. We'll be going across with a few tools which are there inside the market, which helps you in the identification of the PII, the sensitive data that we have. And then we'll be, at last, we'll be just touch basing on our CISA Tipper tool as well, which will give you an insight that, okay, how exactly CISA would be able to help you in identification and you can say the security aspects of this particular critical of the PII data. So let's start the session right now. So data has become an unavoidable part of business today. I guess many of us would agree with this fact that right now everything is going inside the big data stream. Okay, you have like a big data lake over here everywhere, using which you are being identified, you can say, uniquely across each and every domain. Whether you are trying to perform, let's say, a particular transaction, whether you are just authenticating yourself to a particular website or whatnot. Okay, each and every way, or let's say each and in every aspect, we are trying to identify a particular consumer, a particular user uniquely. All right. So over here we have categorized it under three ways. That is the payment card data. When we talk about payment card data, we have the card number, which is also called the PAN, the expiration date, the CV2, and the track 1, track 2 data. So let's say the people who actually know about the payment card data, they'll be able to uniquely, or they'll be able to identify from here that the PAN is the unique digital element which which will be constituted, let's say, which will be mapped with a let's say a specific card holder. So if I get the card holder number, if I get the primary account number of a particular individual, I will be able to uniquely identify that particular individual, right? That is with respect to the payment card data. Now let's, you can say, try and understand a few of the PII data as well, the personally identifiable information. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we have joined over here from specifically the geographic locations of Singapore and Australia and many of you must be, you can say, going through the Australian privacy principles as well, which are currently being enforced across the entire, you can say, the Australian region. And of course, the customers or the organizations who are trying to do business with Australia as well. So how exactly they define the PI or the personal information is that any information will be classified as a personal information if it can, or let's say it is about an identified individual, or it's about an individual who is reasonably identifiable. So let's see if we have a sensitive information, like let's say an individual's racial or ethnic origin, maybe their political opinion, the religious beliefs, the sexual orientation, criminal record, health information, credit information, any of these information is classified as personal information as per the Australian Privacy Principles Act. Similarly, many of our friends over here have joined from Singapore as well. So in Singapore, we have a particular data protection act known as Singapore Personal Data Protection Act, the PDPA, which says that each and every, you can say, the PDPA will be applicable to each and every organization, wherever we have to secure the right of individuals so as to protect their personal data. And we also have to adhere, or say we also have to see the need for organizations to collect, use, or disclose those data elements for their business purpose. And many of us might be knowing that if we fail to comply with the Australian privacy principles, then there's a hefty price tag, or there's a hefty, you can say, fine of up to $1.7 million. In the case of Australian privacy principles, and in the case of PDPA, it's around Singaporean dollars 1 million. Okay, and as per the PDPA, it's also, or let's say, an imprisonment up to 3 years as well, which have been covered under it. So all these comes under the PI, the personal identifiable information. Okay, why exactly I told you about these different, you can say, the PDPA and the Australian privacy principles and all is because now the global economy, or let's say the global hemisphere, is all talking about privacy, is all talking about these the personal identifiable information, how to secure it, how to make sure that we are storing only what is needed for a business purpose. We are not storing anything which is not required, which is not business relevance to me. And lastly, we talk about protected health information, where we talk about medical record numbers. So many of us might have, you can say, gone through the HIPAA or the High Trust Act, which is there inside the US region, okay, which talks about the health information, which is also, you can say, sensitive information that needs protection, right? So typically in this entire session, we'll be talking about the sensitive data elements, which can be a payment card data or a PII or a protected health information. And we'll also talk about that, first of all, let's try to identify all these informations, or identify all these critical information inside our organization, inside the data warehouse, or let's say the data lakes, and then accordingly protect it. Okay, that will be the entire objective of this session, of this half-an-hour session over here. So the sensitive data, why exactly do we need this sensitive data across? Let's say most of the organizations are asking that, okay, give me your card number, or give me your date of birth, or give me your name, give me your ethnic origin, something like that. Why do they need it? They need for the unique identification of a particular consumer. They need for the rapid authentication. Now, let's say today you go to, let's say, any of the, I'll say any of the market, any of the marketplace, any of the merchants. And in most of the places, you might just be able to authenticate yourself, or say authenticate the transaction using just your iWatch, right? Even the iWatch now is compatible with the payment ecosystem. you'll be able to perform payment you just by doing let's say a transaction using an Apple iWatch. So it helps us in the rapid authentication. Along with that, it helps with the global adaptability. So when I say global adaptability, it means that if I'm doing a transaction right now in let's say Singapore or in Australia, tomorrow I'm doing in Philippines, next day I'm in US, something like that. Everywhere I will be able to use the same set of data elements which were authenticated, say which were stored initially, and then universal acceptance, because everyone everywhere right now accepts all these data elements for proper authentication, or let's say for proper identification of a particular consumer. The cons, I guess all of us know, in the let's say in the latest threat-based landscape that we have, where the data breaches and all those things are happening each and every day. All of us hear in the newspapers and everything that, okay, there's a data breach, there's a let's say the payment card breach and all those things, which is of course a major con, or let's say a major constraint that we have. The data breaches, the monetary loss, and the reputational loss, absolutely. I guess the reputational loss is something which takes a lot of time. So the reputation is something which takes a lot of time for us to actually get in power, or let's say get situated at a particular market. But in the case of a data breach, or in the case of a small incident, even the reputation goes down in a drastic manner. And it takes a hell lot of time to again pick it up and you can say go at that particular power again. So data security entirely depends on how securely you can protect your customers' data and delete it when it's not, or let's say when it's no more required. That means that store data, of course, store data for business purpose only. Store only the adequate amount of data. Do not store, let's say, whatever, or let's say each and every information what is coming onto you. And delete after the retention period of that particular data elements have been, you can say, expired. So please take note of this, that whenever we are storing the data, please store it as per the business justification and delete after the retention period has been expired. Now, so when we have understood the data elements, when we have understood the PII and all those things, we take into reference a particular standard. Now, as you guys must be knowing that, okay, when we're talking about the payment data, the PCI DSS is one of the most mature standards that is available in the market, so as to protect the information, or so as to protect the payment information. Similarly, if I'm talking about the PII data, I'll talk about the Australian Privacy Principles. I'll talk about, let's say, the Singapore Data Protection Act and all those things. So I guess in this particular aspect, we have taken into consideration PCI DSS, and PCI DSS itself specifically talks about the you can say the card holder information or the payment information, and they're inclined towards the card number, the primary account number. So what they say is that, first of all, please make sure that whenever you are trying to store the card holder number, or let's say the primary account number, okay, it should be stored in a secure format. So when they say secure format, it says that, okay, what they mean is that it should be stored in an encrypted format at all the times. If you want to reuse the card numbers, if you don't want to reuse the card numbers, then you can always mask it, okay, or you can always hash it, or you can always tokenize that particular card number as well. Okay, tokenization, using the tokenization technology, of course, you will be able to get the card numbers back. But wherever the tokens are lying inside your organization, all those, we can say, assets and all those things can be deemed out of scope. Because again, the token can only be authenticated from the central vault, in which there's a mapping between the token and the card number. So the PCI DSS in its entirety talks about the security of the card numbers whenever it's being stored, processed, or transmitted in your organization. So what they say is that, first of all, do not store the card number at all in plain text in any way whatsoever. That is, it should not be stored in application logs, it should not be stored into network traffic logs, the databases, and all those things. A full card number, a 16-digit card number, should not be stored in clear text format in any of the data warehouse, or in any of the databases. Then it says that, okay, if you are trying to store the card number, okay, or let's say if you are storing, processing, or transmitting the card number, then it's your responsibility to protect the confidentiality of that particular information. So what do we mean by the confidentiality is, of course, the unauthorized access. The unauthorized access to that particular individual information should be restricted at all the times. One particular method over here is, of course, that I will be restricting the logical access to that particular information. The other aspect is that I will make it unreadable during storage, so that even if somebody gets hold of it, they won't be able to decrypt, or so they won't be able to understand what exactly is there inside the data, because it's an unreadable format. So what is the best use case, or say what is the best way to you can say perform the entire protection, or let's say to adhere to what PCI DSS is saying, is that first of all we need to identify these data elements so as to protect it. And I guess all of us might agree with this particular fact that PCI, or let's say any of the, whenever if we are talking about the PCI DSS, whether we are talking about the PII data, whether we are talking about the health information, we can only be able to protect it first or only when we have identified that particular information. Before the identification, it's not even possible for us to even store that particular information inside, let's say, secure that information inside the databases, inside the applications, right? Many of the times we have seen during, let's say, our assessments and all those things, that the card number, or let's say many of the PII data, actually get stored in the application logs, in the transaction logs, and all those things. And whenever we request the organizations that, okay, why exactly are you storing these card numbers? Why exactly are you storing this PII data over here? They always come back and say that, okay, we didn't even know that, okay, it was storing, and we don't have any business relevance of it. Okay. This particular identification of the data helps us to demystify all these locations where the organization might not even know that the data is being stored locally, or maybe in a traffic log, or maybe in a backup media, something like that, or maybe in an image format, or in a video or an MP3 file. All right. So that is from where we start this particular, you can say, engagement of critical security of information. That is, first of all, we should identify the data. After that, we'll try and secure that particular data elements so that it's secure for the entire organization perspective. So data discovery, what is it? It's actually the first step towards data protection. Now, data discovery, simple, is the identification of the data. Okay, whenever we are trying to let's say locate a particular data element, we are talking about the data discovery. That, okay, first of all, let's try to identify the payment card data or the PII data, or let's take the case of the medical health information, or many of the cases you have the SN numbers, the social security numbers and all. Okay, so there are basically two steps, or say, I'll not say two steps, but two approaches using which most of the organizations try to perform data discovery. The first of them is the manual data discovery, which is mostly a sample-based methodology, which is suitable for a small or medium-sized organization. That is where exactly they use it. And the main con, or let's say the main challenge in the case of manual data discovery, is that we might miss some critical assets, which might be storing the card numbers. I think we were just having a chat yesterday or day before with one of the clients, and they have been in compliance for the past, I guess, 5 to 7 years. And how they were complying with this particular requirement of the data discovery was that they were doing a manual script check on the databases only. Okay, and that too every annual basis. Okay. They were not even using any of the automated tools, and they were having more than 5,000 servers inside the scope. So just imagine if you have such a huge scope and you are just doing a manual, you can say, script-based identification only on the databases, then you will not be able to achieve the true security aspect over here. Okay. When we talk about automated data discovery, it talks about the entire organization. It talks about the entire scope, right? It will be able to scan each and everything which is there on your network. Okay, and it's suitable for all size organizations. It's not that, okay, only the huge or the global size organizations. If you are looking for data security, if you're looking for global data security, then automated data discovery is a one size fit all, you can say, tool which you should have in you can say inside your organization, so that first of all you should be able to identify the data and then accordingly remove or protect it based upon your business needs. Now, how exactly a data discovery tool helps, or any of them helps? First of all, it will be able to locate the cardholder data, or I should say it should be able to locate the sensitive data elements which we have inside our organization. And how will it be able to do it? It'll scan all types of operating systems, or let's say major types of operating systems, databases, logs, files, extensions, and all. It'll mask or delete the data. So like as for example, if there's a 16-digit card number inside your organization in the application logs and all, and you don't need to store the 16-digit logs or the 16-digit card numbers, what you'll do in that case is that you will just mask the card data, mask the card number which is stored in the logs. You will not keep the full card number inside the, you can say, the application log, the transaction logs. So the tool should be able to help you in the masking of the logs as well. It reduces the risk of insecure data storage because you'll be able to identify the data, so you'll be able to secure the data as well. And of course, it helps you in the global compliances of the different standards and regulations like GDPR, PCI DSS, HIPAA, the PDPA, the APPs, or the Australian Privacy Principles Act, and all. The data discovery tools which are there in market mostly comes in two forms. One would be a freeware solutions, the other would be an enterprise solutions. I guess many of you know the difference even between a freeware and open source as well. So freeware are basically being given by a particular organization where they will say that, okay, you can scan it for 50 assets, 100 assets, and all those things, which of course comes at low cost or maybe come without even a cost, and it's suitable for individuals, not organizations at a whole. Because if I'm talking about an organization, I'm talking about an entire network, or let's say an entire network-based asset to be scanned, which is not suitable, or say which is not actually applicable in the case of freeware solutions. And the number of false positives which you get in the case of freeware solutions are huge. But when we talk about the open source solutions, there's a, first of all, you need the competence. Means let's say the resources should be competent enough that, okay, they integrate into your applications, into your databases, and all those things. And even the open source solutions have a particular, you can say, restriction that you will be able to change the configurations or change the particular functionality of that particular open source tool till a particular extent. After that, you have to take, you can say, consent of the developer, whosoever developed that particular open source tool. Whereas if we are talking about enterprise solutions, they are a target-based, you can say, environment, or they are target-based solution. When I say target-based, means that, okay, if I'm doing, let's say, if I'm taking help of a particular module which is there for the identification of the card numbers, then of course it will be able to identify card numbers in any or in most of the formats. It's a, I'll say it's a focus tool, or let's say it's a focus-driven tool, so that you get what you want. Otherwise, most of your time will just go in, let's say, an understanding that how exactly or from where exactly I should be able to get the numbers, or get the card numbers, or get the PII data. I don't know where exactly is being stored. You might be getting a lot of false positives and all those things. So before you choose any of the data discovery tools, please remember a few things, which are a few pointers over here, that the free tools, whatever you get from the market, are neither safe nor reliable. It might be, you can say, a use case that they came up with a Trojan, or they came up with a malware being installed on a system, maybe a keylogger in many of the cases, which will of course compromise the entire organization. You won't be getting a support from the, you can say, that particular solution, or let's say that particular solution architect team, because again, it's a freeware. They don't provide a support for all these things. Documentation of what exactly you can do, what all scans you can perform, or can you change a few of the functionalities and all, is not available over there. No proper functional interface, may not be robust, and can leave gaps during scanning. Means might not be able to scan the entire organization, or so the entire scope what you have. which will lead to, you can say, drastic closures at the end of the day. I guess many of us know about these things, that the data breaches, whenever it happens, it usually takes around, let's say, 7 to 8 months to 1 year to actually identify that yes, a data breach has happened inside an organization. That's again you can say an average time base which most of the organizations take. And most of the times what they say is that they didn't even know that okay, they were storing the data in that particular file, folder, database, or logs and something or the other. Okay, so please make sure that the data, the critical data which is there inside your organization, is your upmost, is your topmost priority to be secured. That is why we say that okay, data is a powerful resource, secure it wisely. As I told you in the initial, that it takes 20 years to build a reputation, a few minutes of data breach will ruin it. So choose the right tool to secure data always. Now we come with the SISA tipper. So if you will understand till here, so we were trying to, you can say, tell you about the objective, that the critical data, the sensitive data inside the organization is very important for you. You should be able to protect that particular information as and when you identify it. And you have, we can say, different sets of methodologies, the approaches, the automated and the manual based and all. Okay, you have different types of PII data which are there. Okay, so first you have got, you can say, I'll say, got the documentation of the entire asset inventory, about the entire data inventory that you have inside the organization. At that particular time period, you will be in a right position to choose between an automated or a manual based tool. Okay, and as we said earlier, that an automated tool makes much more sense if you are thriving towards a true security approach. So when we're talking about data discovery over here, or with Tipper, so Tipper is actually an in-house built data discovery tool which has been developed by SISA. And in some time, our lead architect Shiva will be able to help you across with that particular tool as well. It schedules and run periodic scans, means let's say quarterly scans or monthly scans. Whenever you want to do the scans, it will be able to run through it. It can scan diverse file formats. It can scan the MP3s, the videos, the images, the log files, the databases and all. Of course, it needs authentication to all these things before it can even get a grab of it. But yes, it will be able to, you can scan all types of file formats. And based upon our local, or let's say based upon our local R&D with the help of the different tools, enterprise tools which are available in the market, we have identified that the Tipper actually scans in 70% less time as compared to the other enterprise version tools which are available inside the market. Okay. Now, so how exactly it compares with the other tools which are there in the market? First of all, our tool uses the machine learning and the AI-based technologies. It supports major types of operating systems and diverse file formats, which you'll see are not available in most of the freeware and the other enterprise tools which are there in the market. Based upon the continuous learning of AL, or let's say the ML and AI, we have minimized the false positives, which most of the tools gives you. So our tool has a particular, let's say, a very good rate of actually giving you 80 to 70 to 80% less false positives as compared to the other tools which are there inside the market. It's cost effective as well. It completes tasks in less time and more efficiency. The interface is quite friendly, which Shiva will show you in some time, how exactly you can use the tool, what are the different interfaces that are available. And it uses high-level algorithms, like let's say the loans algorithms and the mod 10 check and all those things. It uses so as to make sure that whatever critical data, whatever critical information you identify, it is actually, you can say, a critical asset. It's not a false positive, because again, whenever you have that much noise inside the organization, whenever you have that much noise inside a particular data element, you will always think that, okay, we are secure and all of these things, whatever is coming, are false positives. So first of all, our tool makes sure that whatever report, whatever result it gives you, it's actually intact. It's actually an identifiable asset, which it has identified inside the organization, so that you can appropriately secure it. So from here, I'll just hand over the, you can say, slide to Mr. Shiva to take us through with the tool. Shiva, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kaushik. Hi team, good day. So this is the configuration page of the tipper tool. Mainly we have 5 modules in the tipper tool. That is starting from configuration, targets, scan, report and schedule. You can see in this image. So in the configuration page, by default, we have selected almost all the major payment cards like MasterCard, Visa, American Express, JCB and many more. If you don't want to scan any of these card numbers, just you need to unselect these options. So also by default, we have selected almost all the major file extensions, including Excel, document text, Outlook, PDF and web pages. If you wish to scan any other file extensions like audio, images, compressed, we can also select by expanding this more option. Also, you can see the track data option. So our tool is capable to scan the track data present in your network. So also we can set the regex format according to your environment, like without spaces and dashes, or with or without spaces and dashes, and like spaces before and after the number, spaces and special character before and after the number. So along with these 9 payment card numbers, we can also scan the PII data present in your network, like if it is account number or any phone number or any address of employee address, employee ID. So at the bottom of the page, you can see add regex for scanning. So we will create the regex for the same. So along with these 9 payment card numbers, tool will also scan the PII data. So second page is about targets. So targets are nothing but the IP addresses. It may be operating system or database or emails or G drive. So we can add in tipper tool and we can scan. So now we'll move to next slide, that is scan. Am I audible now? Hope I am audible now. So this is the scan page. So once the targets are being added in tipper tool, just hit on the start button. So it will start identifying the card numbers present in your network. So in this slide, you can see the path of the card number where it has identified. In this example, you can see the IP address like 192.168.1.18 that is in E drive, and the location is like data, other test cards, Amex, Diners Club, Discover, JCP, and many more numbers. So by using the tool itself, we can mask the card number. Also, we can delete the card number. Also, we can delete the entire file. So it will also replicate in your in the end machine itself. So it's a very user-friendly interface. Just add the target, initiate the scan, and get the completely automated report. And also by using the tool itself, we can schedule the task like weekly based, monthly based, quarterly based, half-yearly based, and yearly based. Also, you will get an alert like once the scan is being started or stopped or completed. You will get the complete report as well to your email ID. So this is all about tipper tool.
Thank you, Kaushik and Shiva, for the insightful webinar. This has helped us in understanding the importance of securing the most valuable data and how effectively you could locate and protect it with the help of the data discovery tool. Now the floor is open for the question and answer. I would encourage everyone to raise the questions in the Q&A section, which is below the screen, and we would be sure to answer all of it for you. We've started getting questions.
So one question is, tipper is a web application or desktop application? It's a desktop application. We can install it on any of the Windows operating system. Like if it is 32-bit also we can deploy, and if it is 64-bit also we can deploy.
So the first question over here, will the tool be able to identify or log who has tried to access the card data or PII between the scans? Currently, that particular module is under development. okay, where it will be able to identify the let's say individual user as well who has tried to access the data and all. I guess in the next 1 or 2 releases, we'll be able to come up with that particular solution as well. Is there a mobile version? Can I view the scans from offsite? Actually, we don't have a mobile version as of now. It's completely desktop because we don't want the data to come outside of your organization at any point in time. We want it to be constrained inside the organization at most of the time. The prize will be given by, let's say, our business development team. Once they, you can say, you can have a contact with either Mukesh or the respective team members, those who were there for the region. Is it multi-tenant with one hosting offering for more than one customer? So actually we don't have that particular format. So how it exactly goes is that we can have different users being created on the same you can say tool. That is a functionality of the tool. So you will be able to scan different types of databases, applications and all using that particular you can say login credentials, whatever we say it. Can result be emailed to a certain person automatically and periodically? Absolutely. That's the functionality of the tool, and you'll be able to get it. Absolutely. A multi-tenant, I guess I have answered. With one hosting offering for more than one consumer. It's multi-tenant means, let's say from one particular server, I'll be able to scan hundreds or let's say 200 different odd servers inside my organization. So that is one of the functionalities, and we can have different login IDs as well being created on top of it. So I guess that might have answered you. We have a particular question: technology stack used behind the product. I guess it's a Java-based framework, and of course, Shiva can correct me if I'm wrong. Shiva?
We developed using C#. It's a Windows platform based on the .NET framework.
All right. So it's a .NET framework, guys, where we have used the C# as a technology at the backend.
Putra is asking about trial mode. Yes, we have trial-based tool as well. So we can conduct a small POC in your environment to check the tool feasibility.
What is the payment mode? That is, do I have to pay license each year? So I guess that will be answered by Mukesh or somebody from the BD team.
Yes, so it will be a yearly a recurring payment that you have to make for the tipper tool.
So it's an yearly license, guys. Each and every year you have to renew your license. It's a licensed product.
And one more question is how much time for typical implementation? So implementation is very simple. So we have two types of tool. One is agent-based tool and one more is agentless tool. Agent-based is for very large environment and agentless is for small environment. So just we can download the tool and we can install it. It won't take more than 1 hour to deploy the tool.
So I guess Shiva, this particular question is for you. That okay, how do you classify the targets?
Yes. So targets we are considering as a network-based, database, and email. So network is nothing but an operating system like Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and database is nothing but a MS SQL, MySQL, Oracle, like that.
And just to add to what Shiva said, absolutely we can do all these things. Apart from that, we can also have an IP-based scanning, or let's say a particular network-based scanning as well. Where if you give us the SMB credentials of a particular system, accordingly we'll be able to authenticate and we can scan for the entire systems that are there on a particular network. All right, I think that's it with respect to the set of questions. Mukesh, do we have any thing after this?
Yes, Kaushik.
Feedbacks and everything? Yeah.
Sure. So I guess we have answered all the questions, and yeah, I think we are still getting some questions. Yeah. So we've got one question which says, is there any issues with other logging penetration tools?
Okay. No. Actually, there's no. You can say if you are having, let's say, a Kali VM being set up, or maybe a Burp Suite being set up somewhere, it will not have any issues. So you can, let's say, use the same server for both the tipper being installed on it and used it as for the let's say the other penetration test activities as well. That's not an issue at all. I hope I was able to answer your question.
All right. I guess we're good. And let me see if you've got any more questions. All right, great. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Kaushik, Shiva. And I once again sincerely thank you all for joining and participating for the webinar. And we will be reaching out personally to everyone on the email. And the good news for our existing tipper customers are that we would be sharing the upgraded tipper tool which we have released recently without any strings attached. And for all other participants for the day, we would be happy to do a POC to give you a hands-on experience on the tipper tool and to see the way forward from there. We are also there for the PCA community meet in Australia on November 20th and 21st. We'll be sharing the booth details to you soon, and we'd be glad to meet you all there. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for joining today, and you have a great day over there.